This is Motive of Matter, where we explore the minds behind the crimes, and the science that may explain them. Viewer discretion is advised. Herbert Mullin believed he was saving California from devastating earthquakes by murdering innocent people. Between October 1972 and February 1973, he killed 13 victims in a shocking spree, claiming voices told him each death was a sacrifice to prevent disaster. What drove this quiet young man, who was once voted most likely to succeed, into delusion and violence? Was this simply madness, or did his brain itself play a role? Herbert William Mullin was born on April 18, 1947, in Salinas, California. By all outward appearances, he had a normal childhood. He was popular, intelligent, and active in school. But beneath the surface, something was changing. After a close friend died in a car accident when Mullin was 19, he became obsessed with death, reincarnation, and spiritual visions. By his early 20s, Mullin's behavior grew erratic. He dropped out of college, used LSD heavily, and began experiencing vivid auditory hallucinations. He believed telepathic messages were guiding his thoughts. Multiple psychiatric hospitalizations followed. Doctors diagnosed him with paranoid schizophrenia, a severe mental illness that can distort perception of reality. Mullin heard voices, became convinced of global conspiracies, and told family members he feared an impending natural disaster. While no single brain scan of Mullin has been released, psychiatric evidence shows patterns consistent with frontal lobe dysfunction, a region of the brain responsible for impulse control, planning, and judgment. Research on schizophrenia repeatedly shows structural changes in the frontal lobes, reduced activity, hypofrontality, and impaired executive function. This could explain Mullin's sudden aggression, inability to regulate impulses, and disorganized thinking. His delusions that human sacrifices were preventing earthquakes reflected both psychotic reasoning and a possible neurological inability to separate reality from intrusive thoughts. In October 1972, Mullin beat a homeless man to death, his first murder. Over the next 4 months, he killed without clear pattern, a hitchhiker, a priest, 2 young boys, an elderly man, and entire families. Each murder, he later claimed, was necessary to stop earthquakes. Unlike methodical serial killers, Mullin acted on impulse. Victims were chosen at random. This impulsivity supports the idea of impaired brain function. Rather than calculated evil, Mullin appeared to be acting under chaotic delusion and broken inhibition, hallmarks of both schizophrenia and frontal lobe abnormality. Forensic psychiatrists who examined Mullin testified that he was clearly psychotic. He believed he had been chosen to prevent natural disasters through ritual killing. Neuroscientific studies of similar patients revealed deficits in the brain's executive networks, the systems that allow us to weigh choices, predict consequences, and suppress harmful urges. In other words, his brain was not filtering or correcting his distorted thoughts. While most people with schizophrenia are not violent, when combined with disinhibition and untreated psychosis, the risk of harm can increase sharply. In 1973, Mullin's attorneys argued for an insanity verdict. But under California's Manhattan standard, the jury had to decide whether Mullin understood that his actions were legally wrong. Despite overwhelming evidence of mental illness, the jury found him legally sane and guilty of 10 murders. Mullin was sentenced to life imprisonment, where he remained until his death in 2022. This verdict highlights a tension in criminal law. A person may suffer from profound brain dysfunction and psychosis, yet still be held fully responsible if they show any awareness of illegality. Herbert Mullin's case reveals the devastating effects when severe mental illness goes untreated, and how brain dysfunction can interact with delusional thinking to create tragedy. It also raises hard questions about how society judges responsibility, even when the science shows a mind in crisis. This has been Motive of Matter. Every case we examine is a reminder: understanding the brain is key to understanding human behavior. And while we search for answers, we must never forget the victims, whose lives were stolen, and whose memories deserve respect. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel for more content like this.